All right. All right, good morning and welcome back. This is the Delaware County Council meeting of October 22nd. I call this meeting to order. If we could all stand for the pledge. Jan, will you kick us off?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Webb. Here. Mr. Flanagan.
Present.
Mr. Mogul.
Here.
Mr. Hughes.
Here.
Mr. Whitehead.
Present.
Mr. Cantz.
Here.
Mr. Piper.
Here. All right, questions from the public may be directed to County Council dist@co.delaware.in.us. Again, that is County Council dist@co.delaware.in.us. Marissa, was the agenda posted? All right, at this time I'll entertain an approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Eugene. Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mogul.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes. All right, at this time I'll entertain the approval of the September 24th County Council meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Eugene. Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mogul.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes. All right, moving on to transfer and appropriations. Starting off in County General, Extension Office 131, 211 Office Supplies, negative 640, 361 Repairs and Maintenance Equipment Machinery, positive 640 for a total transfer of 0.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
This actually needs to come off the table.
Yeah. There we go.
We tabled
Sorry
it.
about that. This is the tabled one?
Yes.
Take it off.
Motion to remove from the table.
Second.
Motion to remove from the table by Ryan, second by Dan. Roll call to take it off the table.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mogul.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes. All right, so we already had a motion for approval last meeting. Do we have any questions for the Extension Office?
I just, real quick for the record, what are you doing with your repairs and maintenance?
So, I actually misspoke at the Finance Committee meeting because the new names for the accounts confused me, but repairs and maintenance is our computer lease with the university. And Purdue isn't always very timely with their billing, so we got billed for part of last year's lease and this year all together in one calendar year, and we only have enough money in the account to cover a year's lease. So we had to transfer from another fund to then cover the computer lease with the university.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mogul.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff, 129, 126 overtime, negative 5,000. 198, 101 part-time, positive 5,000 for a total transfer 0.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Do we have any questions on this one?
I have one quick question.
All right,
You're usually always coming and transferring into overtime. Are you comfortable that that's not gonna affect the rest of your year with your overtime?
I'm pretty comfortable with that. Yeah, we should be fine.
Good enough?
I mean, I could still move money honestly because we have some salary lines that haven't been covered. I could have taken it from there, but looking at the overtime line, we should be okay.
Okay, thank you.
all right, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mogul.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Moving out of County General, Adult User Fee Fund, 2,100. 310 Professional Services, positive 2,500. 536 Equipment and Machinery, negative 2,500. Total transfer 0.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Do we have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
If you could, Ms. Emily, detail what the professional services are and what machinery and equipment is not being purchased by removing that $2,500.
Sure, Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. We only need to purchase one computer this year out of this fund, so we had a little extra. Of course, this is their user fees that go back into the same account, so if we don't spend it, it's a non-reverting fund, so it goes back in that account. But we had a grant that, there was money spent out of the grant that shouldn't have, so I have to reimburse the grant and pay for it out of this fund. So that's what this money is for. We're paying a bill that should have been paid out of this fund and not the grant.
So, just so I understand, now, I totally get the having to pay the grant, right, if that's messed up. What caught me off guard is, it seems like you guys are up there every month asking for a computer every other month.
So the courts have a replacement plan. The probation really doesn't, but they've been getting grants for their computer replacements.
Okay.
So probation has their own replacement plan, but they haven't had to use that really, because they've had their grants that have.
The grant
covered it.
supplemented it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank
But we
you.
put money in there, in that line every year, just in case they need one or two. We're just not using it this year. We're having to replace one with our new probation officer. We have to purchase. We had a grant for that new probation officer, so we have to get one this year for that probation officer.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Project income, 1122. 4101, work crew supervisor, negative 39,750. 130-101, CAD case manager, negative 37,787. 311, contractual services, positive 77,537, for total transfer 0.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Do you have any questions on this one?
I do. Could you say for the record what the contractual services are?
Melissa Ritchie, Community Corrections. That is Total Court Services. That's our home detention monitoring company that we pay. So we just took money from payroll. We have not filled these lines since last year. So we just needed to move some money to pay the bill out for the rest of the year. And we're not replacing those payroll.
Why was the contractual services line not budgeted in?
Well, because we had way more people this year on home detention than we had last year. Plus, we were also covering the juvenile bill, which is now being covered by the probation grant. So we were paying for that, which we're not anymore.
So it's an increase of services that you had to provide that wasn't expected from the previous year's budget?
Yeah, but we budgeted the right amount for next year.
Okay. Thank you.
You had made a mention about maybe not filling these two roles, but they are in next year's budget, correct?
They are, just in case our, services would need to be increased, that we can fill those lines, but we haven't needed to up till this point,
Okay.
which
Project
we're also
income
not
is-
counting general too.
Right, I was gonna
So-
say.
So is this a grant? Is that, you get grants for this?
We do not get grants for these two lines. Both of those payroll lines were paid out of project income in the past.
And that revenue comes from where?
Comes from our user fees. So, which our project income balance right now is approximately 450,000 year to date. So,
Which I learned to keep our eyes on that one. When I served on that board, that was the fund we kept our eyes on a lot, and, I'm sure Eugene's watching that one now that he serves on that board, so. It got way low one time. It got way low, so it's good. All right, any further questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes,
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
thank you.
Moving on to addendums, back in County General. EMS 155, 118, 101, Advanced EMT, negative 5,000. 178, 101, Paramedic, negative 30,000. 115, 101, Paramedic, negative 15,000. 148, 101, negative 15,000. 196, 126, overtime, positive 65,000, total transfer 0.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions on this one?
One quick one. Well, just actually two. 148, 101, is that another paramedic or EMT?
Yes.
Okay. And the second question is, do you think this transfer will get you through the end of the year on overtime?
I think it will. I can't say 100% because anything is possible to happen in the emergency services. So I'm pretty sure it will unless we have something big happen that requires a lot of overtime.
And what happened this time that we have so much overtime?
There's just we had the snowstorm, and then we had the eclipse, and then we had, coverage for, fallen firemen. And we've been so short-staffed pretty much all year. We're finally full now, so that's playing a part in the decrease in our overtime, so, but it took a hit all year long, and we're starting to suffer from that hit.
Just for yourself, I guess would like to comment for all of the, folks that have turned in this overtime. Every time I see overtime, I gotta be very honest, it just makes my hair stand on end. And I know sometimes it can't be helped, but I don't understand why we can't have duplicate coverage, if that's the right word, sometimes. I'm making,
What, the duplicate coverage, I don't know what we have to provide service to the county, and then we have to staff those ambulances. So if we have people off of vacation, like right now we have one on workers' comp. People still take, their vacation time, people still call in sick, and if we can't, we have to man that truck to get it out, so we have to call for overtime.
okay, so, we don't have, I guess what I'm thinking is we don't have adequate staff so that if people are on vacation, then we pay the vacation time to the individuals on vacation.
Mhm.
I understand that. And then we also then have to pay overtime to one or two individuals to cover that shift.
Well, we're not gonna let too many people off on vacation to force that to happen, but there could be, like I could be on vacation and then you could call in sick. Well, that just ruins that, you have to replace you because I've already had the day off.
And this comment isn't really, this comment is directed really to all of the, individuals. I know the sheriff and you and 911 and almost every department, turns in overtime, and it just, I just keep wondering why we have to have so much overtime.
We're always gonna have overtime because we don't have an 8 to 5 job, right? So these guys work 24-hour shifts. And if they work, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's 72 hours, right? So anything over 40, they're getting an additional halftime. That's just the way it works in the 24-hour thing. So there's always gonna be overtime, whether everybody's at work or not. That overtime gets paid. And then if they get called in, then it's time and a half outside their normal shift. So, I know it's a hard thing to wrap your head around, believe me. They haven't even figured out how to.
The numbers are just
make a
huge every
machine
year.
to track that time,
Yeah.
so, but that's,
I understand.
So,
that's why you see a lot of overtime, because that's figured in there as well, so,
Director Ashley,
yes, sir.
so, and I understand that your department's pretty unique when it comes to that. Have you guys ever tried, you probably have and figured out it didn't work, but has it ever been considered, instead of having one guy work 3 days to get 72 hours, 32 hours of overtime, hire an extra person and then have the one person only work 2 24-hour shifts a week, and they're only getting 8 hours of overtime?
Yeah, well, so you're gonna save on overtime, then you're gonna pay a guy.
Benefits, right?
That's gonna pay benefits and pay all that, and then if that guy calls in sick, you're still filling his spot. Believe me, we've been through every kind of formula you could think of, so.
I'm curious what the math would be on it. It's probably a wash when it comes down to it. Oh, you guys can't fill
There's
the
Kelly
positions that you have.
schedules, we're on the California schedule, there's Kelly schedules where, say, anytime there's a Tuesday and that's your Kelly day, you never work a Tuesday the rest of your life unless you switch that Kelly day. There's all kinds of stuff that all comes down that we gotta have this many people working this 24 hours to get those trucks out the door, minimum. So,
I understand.
and then days like, you know, the other day, everybody was at work, we were in an extra truck. So, but I gotta have the minimums. The big problem this year has been just trying to get people hired.
Well, that's what I was getting at.
And we
Even,
hire them and they don't last 3
Yeah.
weeks.
even
I
if
mean,
you
it's just
went
been
the
a
way I
struggle.
was suggesting, you haven't filled the positions you have open now.
Yeah.
Let alone hiring 2 more.
So even though we're transferring that money out of positions that's been open, yeah, it went to overtime, but you weren't paying benefits either. See what I mean? So you got that kind of wash. I don't know all the math. I mean, we'd have to sit down together and figure it all out, but common sense would tell you, you're kind of washing it by not paying the benefits, the FICA, the perf and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So,
And when you think about it, you honestly save money in overtime by doing the halftime rate rather than doing time and a half rate. I mean, could you imagine what it would be if we had to pay time and a half for every hour over 40 if they're scheduled?
yeah.
So doing halftime, I mean, literally cuts it down by 70% when over the course of the whole entire overtime budget.
And the way we get paid came from a labor lawsuit in Chicago EMS. That's what started how we get paid, how they get paid. But we don't fall under the guidelines of police and firemen that are exempt from, like, they don't pay social security and stuff like that. You know, we do. So it's just different. I mean, that's where it came from. Somebody didn't just pull it out of thin air. I mean, it was litigated and that's what they came up with probably in 1990-ish.
I'm sure someone a lot smarter than me figured out the formula.
Well, me too, me too.
Just ask a question.
Yeah, so,
Just point of order, could you two, for the record, introduce yourself?
Megan Catino, office manager.
Mike Ashley, EMS director.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to appropriations in county general, sheriff 129, 537 vehicle, positive $40,000 for a total of $40,000.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. This is the van that we discussed during budget session, so purchasing it from Community Corrections. Have any additional questions? Hearing none, roll,
I have
yep.
one quick question. Is
Yep.
is that like fully equipped or is that just purchasing the van?
Just purchasing the van.
So it still has to be outfitted?
Wait, I believe that it is already outfitted and ready to go and
We've been using it
right.
Yeah.
for the
because
last
it
2
came-
months.
Oh, all right.
came
So
from
yeah, it's good to
DCCC.
go now.
And this price is very good price versus what you'd have to buy a brand new one for.
Correct.
And the old one basically is out of service now, cannot be repaired, cannot be used.
Gotcha. Thanks for educating me on that. Yeah, if we're using it, then it's gotta be up to standard for what they need it for, so. Okay, that's
And
all
it
I
had
have.
really low mileage.
Yeah. Yeah. We couldn't have asked for better on that.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. All right. Moving out of county general, lit 1170, 129, 195, 178, pension sheriff, positive 250,000 for a total of 250,000.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. This was a nice convoluted one that Tanya and I went on a scavenger hunt, and I think maybe Keita helped pull some numbers. And so what occurred in 23, we had our lit budget for the pension. We paid out the first 3 quarters. Oh. And then the 4th quarter, it didn't get paid in am I right on this? It didn't get paid in December, and so we had to pay it in January, February, at the beginning of the following year,
Not encumbered.
but it didn't get encumbered, so that money just rolled back into lit. So it was appropriated in 23, did not get used, rolled over, and the issue has been caught, so we're essentially running like a quarter behind. So this is just to get us back on track.
So this is what would have been paid last year.
Yes,
We're
but it
not,
didn't,
we're not
we're not a quarter
I follow.
behind in paying.
And not
Everything's
paying.
up to date
Right.
as far as payment.
but like,
Fine.
But
but when
as
you-
far as appropriation,
right,
we're a quarter behind.
right,
We're paying 5 payments this year instead of
Right.
4.
yes.
We paid 3 payments last year, yeah,
Yep.
I appreciate Tanya sending out the exact, from the audit trail, the exact payment schedule. So we're not paying any more, we're just paying this year. This year we have to make the extra payment because we made one less payment last year.
Now that we've caught it, it won't happen again. Yes.
Correct. We had a new employee, we had several.
A lot of
changes
changeover
the
at
end
that
of the year,
time.
So,
Quickenbush would be proud. Always
Yes.
focused on that pension fund.
For sure. Do we have any additional questions on this? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Jury fee fund, 2505. 390, other services and charges, positive 20,000 for a total of 20,000.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Do we have any questions on the jury fee fund?
I have some information. Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. Councilman Hughes asked me at Finance to bring some information on the account. So I went back and pulled the fees. We average about $5,366 a month that are coming in. But I already had a little bit of a balance in this fund. So with taking out 2024's budget and bringing in the fees, that leaves me with about $64,392. And then you take out, $107,000. And then you take out 2025 budget of 50,000, that leaves me with 57,000, which we only want to keep at least 50 in there. So it does decrease my overall cushion, but I don't think it's enough that I can't go ahead and take this 20,000 out. So that's with the 20,000, it leaves me 57,000 after the 2025 budget. We are using our jury trial fund this year, pretty much covering psych fees and certified interpreters. So I want to use this additional money to cover jury trials for us the year. I do have some lines in salary lines that I could come back in November and December if I need more to cover the certified and the psych fees, but I think this big chunk will help with the jury trial side. So we'll see where we're at next month. We have a 3-week trial, 2.5-week trial going, and a 1-week trial going just this week. So, you know, they keep coming in. And 1 week ago, we had four or five invoices just on psych fees. And those are about $2,000 a piece. So it does eat it up. So I do have funds. I'll have to come back and ask for any appropriations out of county general. But I wanted to start with at least this 20,000 out of the jury fee fund since I had it. But I don't think it's gonna short me at all with what I've got,
Thank you.
okay?
Great. Any additional questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Ms. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for the explanation.
Wrap
Ready for
that
that one?
up.
Motion to approve financial transfers and to amend salary ordinance with like reductions.
Second.
Motion by Eugene, second by Dan. Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. We've got our backfilling report here, if you want to take a look at that.
Motion to accept, receive backfilling report.
Second.
Motion by Eugene, second by Dan. Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel. Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, on to ordinances and resolutions. First up is solar abatement moratorium ordinance 2024-019. This is its second reading. Anyone like to,
Move to adopt ordinance 2024-019.
Second.
motion by Bill, was that Eugene or,
Eugene.
okay, second by Eugene. Do we have any additional comments or questions on this one?
I I just wanted to say that, I think, you know, from participation of the community members, I feel that this ordinance is obviously much appreciated, much wanted. We've not really had any opposition to it. And I look forward to a unanimous vote of approval.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, on to,
Can I make one?
yeah,
His name is wrong.
on the ordinance.
Yeah, this,
Yeah.
his signature lines are wrong, it's misspelled, just FYI. Nope.
Okay.
It is.
All right, moving on, we have the job classification ordinance 2024-016. We read this in, maybe back in July, and it has not come back onto our agenda until today. I don't know, I think there's some questions, or Matt, you had some, do we need to vote this again to discuss?
Bring it off the table.
It's not on the table. We never tabled it. I just never brought it back on the agenda.
Move to adopt
Okay.
ordinance 2024-016. A second.
Okay, motion by Bill, second by Dan. Now we can have discussion.
Vote on it or have this?
No, well, there's gonna be a discussion.
Yeah.
I know Matt had.
I don't have the attachments here. My concern was with the maintenance plan itself and just the wording with which it indicated our usage of consultants going forward, and where I did the, however, and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but the maintenance plan itself is gonna be, in essence, managed by the allotted folks that are gonna be doing the HR, the committee that'll be created. That was my intention. Yes, I think. I wonder if this doesn't need some more work.
That was our concern. Matt and I having conversations.
Problem is I couldn't find it.
I personally think we probably need a little bit more. I share the same concern that Matt did about the ongoing, maintenance. And if we adopt this, it hasn't been made clear to me of whether that ties us to having to, basically, be under contract with the company who did this moving forward for revisions, maintenance, almost like a, consultant. They'd be like the consultant that we're paying taxpayer money to every.
Well, only as needed. Only as needed. So if we don't use if we don't use them, we don't pay them anything.
So, okay, I'm glad you said that. So it's not automatic. We could
Correct.
adopt this and then we could cut ties with them and not have nothing to do with them.
If
If we
we don't utilize their services, we don't pay for anything.
The power to do it, but we don't have to do it. And
Okay.
it's really not up to us because we can't contract with them. The commissioners would have to do that. That's why I'm not sure that this is ready for prime time. in my opinion.
Well, what are the other,
Table it?
well, we can do that, but I wanna make sure we get all the discussion out,
Yeah,
in public record.
I don't want to be obligated to any consultant
Yeah.
on an ongoing basis. The key to properly managing the job descriptions and classifications is to have an active in-house committee. Members of this body, the Human Resources Director, you know, whoever we decide ought to be on that committee, that meets on a regular basis, that has the authority to make the appropriate changes with the approval of the council, and to keep the plan up to date. I've had occasion to run into former Councilman Quakenbush, and he said, you know, we adopted a job classifications some years ago, and it was never maintained. It just fell into disuse, and the job descriptions no longer fit the reality. So we can't let that happen. We've got a big investment in this. We need to make sure it is maintained by us. If we need a consultant, fine, but it's our obligation to make sure it works.
Would you believe that committee would need to be formed before we adopted this?
No, I think that's part of what needs to be in this, is to
That
define
language.
what that committee is and what, you know, how often they meet, who's on the committee, and what their duties are. That has to be spelled out.
Which it is in the maintenance plan from, there's a as it's listed today, I finally found it. Human Resources Director Committee duties. County job descriptions shall be maintained by the Human Resources Director. The Human Resources Director shall be responsible for the distribution of job questionnaires to elected officials. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. That's the Human Resources Director's duties as it pertains to this maintenance, but there's actually a Delaware County Job Classification Compensation Committee responsible for overseeing the maintenance of the job classification and pay plan. Committee shall consist of 3 council members appointed by the county council. County auditor and the county human resources director shall serve as ex officio non-voting members. This committee serves in an advisory capacity of the county council and is responsible for overseeing job review procedures and making job reclassification and pay policy recommendations to the county council. All requests shall be submitted to the full council, and the committee has completed its review and formed its recommendation. Auditor shall prepare notices of job committee meetings, maintain meeting minutes, record of votes. Human Resource Director shall serve as a committee coordinator. So that's the description within the committee component, that's in there that you're referring to, right, Bill?
Absolutely.
The step 4, if requested by the committee council. Yeah, so then it gets into the procedures for reclassification of a position or reorganization of an office. It's got a step-by-step, there's 7 steps. In those steps, it does basically say in step 4, if requested by the committee, the council's professional human resources consultants may conduct an assessment, including but not limited to the following, reviewing all of the stuff that's associated with that. And then in step 5, an assessment report would be prepared by the council's professional human resources consultants. It's that section right there that I think needs to be discussed.
I agree, yeah.
And also then it goes into adding a new position. There's a similar step-by-step policy that's indicated that also includes in a consultant review. So those are probably the areas we want to look at.
What I'm hearing is we have some notes we want to share with Ben to have him update. And then we can discuss this again if someone, is there any other discussion on this?
No, I think
Well,
that's,
I have one other thing that,
Yeah.
that I have a concern with, that I don't like the language in here, with the classification studies of constantly referencing equity among positions. I know that's like a vogue thing to say in 2024, equity, but in real world, it doesn't really apply. There's going to be, because the classification system affects the salary. I know that we talk about them as 2 different things, but they are linked together. And when you have somebody, who's, you know, whether they've got far less years of service or they're just not as good of an employee as someone else, the classification system through their woke usage of equity forces those two to be treated equally. And I don't think that, I mean, I guess it's a good concept on paper, but in real life, there's no such thing as two employees that are just exactly the same.
What are you referring to?
I'm talking about in the job descriptions, when we were talking about how each position, for whatever that they do, they have to be treated as the exact
Their
same.
ordinance.
And what I'm saying, and that affects their compensation down the path or down the road. And I'm saying that just because they do a
Disagree that there
similar
are people
job.
who, right, I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying, but we also don't have any process in place for employee evaluations or key performance indicators. Like we have no,
It's true.
we have no process in place
So, yeah,
to even try to analyze that.
so two things on that. One is, according to the SBOA's analysis that Ed had provided previously, the base pay rate is what we're scheduling in that classification. So that base pay would be, in essence, the starting base pay would be the same based on that classification. It doesn't prevent us though, and Bill or anybody correct me if I'm wrong, it would not prevent us from, we're doing that to appease that, but we're adding some other experience matrix and some other things potentially. We're doing it now this year for the sheriff and the jail and continuing the 911, and then the prosecutors are getting something separate. But so it doesn't prevent us from doing that, but it does set those classifications as the base pay, which it does do equitably in what you're saying. So it's a starting point that gives us the ability to maintain some level of oversight into where the job classifications, where the people fall, what the base pay are for that particular responsibility level, et cetera. I'm not sure that it totally prevents us from doing anything else about that.
Well, the
See what I'm
tricky,
saying?
yes, I see exactly what you're saying. I just think it kind of leads us into muddy waters of not focusing on the position and we're almost forced to focus on the employee, right? Before we always tried to make it about the position, but when we're tying in incentives or experience matrices, we have to consider the employee when we're doing that. So it's just a real tricky situation to be in.
Well, the idea is that the base, though, we're not looking at the employee for the base salary, and I don't know if you were able to tune in on that budget meeting, but there was discussion that in our budget itself, it has to be the base salary. Any other experience pay or anything else, longevity can't be tied into that salary. So what's in the budget now
I fully
absolutely
understand
has to
that.
be that way, so.
I fully understand that. What
Okay.
I was getting at is once we move away from the base and we start trying to recognize those things like experience level, years of service, incentives, that's when we kind of start to deviate from the position to the employee. And it can get muddy sometimes down the road.
Yeah, and in a
I think
perfect,
what a good counsel can separate that, but in politics, sometimes things can get personal down the road. Maybe a different counsel isn't so good at doing those things.
if we had a meaningful, if we had, I mean, in the business world or a corporate world, you would have a meaningful performance
Yeah.
improvement plan component that would include the ability from us, from an HR perspective, to do that, and it would be outlined in the handbook, and it would be in place across the board. We don't currently have that, so we're not measuring people as it stands, in my opinion.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future, that's the hope.
All right, so what I'm hearing is that someone's going to make motion to table this.
So moved. Second.
All right, so was that a Dan motion, Eugene second?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call to table.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Moving on, we have a resolution. It's our give back resolution, 2024-017. This are the givebacks from different departments during our budgetary process. They offered these funds back up from this current fiscal year to help adjust what monies we had available to work with for our budget in '25. Everything's outlined here, and I know, pretty cut and dry on this one, so.
Motion to approve resolution 2024-017.
Second.
Motion by Eugene, second by Dan. Do you have any questions or comments?
I just quickly thank all the department heads for doing what you could to find any little bit to give back.
It does all help. All right, roll call, please. Oh, go ahead.
I had a question on the plan commission.
Yep.
Was it your intention to give back those funds, or you wanted to potentially transfer them to another use? Or am I missing something? Some and give back some.
Eileen Swackhammer, Plan Commission. So we factored in the amount that we were going to ask to transfer. So the list here is complete, get back.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes. All right, up next is, ordinance 2024-025, an ordinance establishing a deadline for encumbering funds. This is just a first reading on this.
I will note that on the first one, we had a Monday, and you've corrected that, made it Monday prior to the council finance meeting.
Anyone want to motion for first
Oh,
reading?
so moved, I'm sorry.
Second. Eugene.
Motion by Dan, second, was it Eugene or Ryan?
Eugene.
Eugene? All right, now we can discuss.
I repeat what I said earlier, that originally it was just I had trouble with that date, that they could have brought it in on Monday at 4 o'clock, and the auditors would have to have it ready for us by 9 o'clock on Tuesday, but that's been corrected.
Do we want to talk about why we're trying to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you know,
I mean, actually,
let's do that then, yeah.
so a couple weeks ago, Ed brought this to the finance committee's attention that, did another county do this and you had seen this? Like, I don't recall how it came to be.
There's multiple counties that have ordinances concerning encumbrance.
Because right now, we were just kind of, there was no real as far as I can recall, no structure around our encumbrances. So basically, we would just get our encumbrance, list, I guess, in January, and that was something we would approve in January. This way, we're getting the, horse before the cart, right? And we understand what's coming in, and we have a better idea of where our next year is going to start based on those encumbrances. So this ordinance essentially is just putting a deadline in place for when those need to be submitted to the auditor's office. It states all departments seeking to encumber funds for the 2024 budget into the 2025 budget year and any subsequent budget year must submit their encumbrance request to the Delaware County Council for review and approval no later than the Monday prior to the Delaware County Council's December Finance Committee meeting. Encumbrance requests which are not submitted for review and approval by that deadline shall not be considered or encumbered. So this is just putting some language in place for our encumbrance process.
Is there a form or something that they have to fill out that gives detail of the encumbrances? No, it's just $1. It would be my suggestion to department heads, if they're going to submit those, that they submit them with as much detail as possible so that finance can review that, and then we bring it to the council on the December meeting for review. Last year, I was ignorant to the fact that we just literally got a list of dollars and a line item number with zero detail as to what's being encumbered for the year and why. So I would prefer, at least my opinion is, that we see some detail about what's actually being asked and why those things are having to be encumbered. So that's my opinion. Madam President,
Yes?
Fred.
You have a question about the encumbrances?
I have concerns about the encumbrance.
Oh, okay.
So I believe by state law, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but you have till December 31st to put encumbrances in from the current budget. This puts a significant limit on, if we get a bill on the December 20th and the meeting for the finance committee was the week before, we can't encumber funds. I believe the state law was specifically set up so that you could spend money out of the current budget year through encumbrances. So I know other people are nodding their heads. This puts a significant hurdle and roadblock in place that I don't think is actually legal. And like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have till December 31st to submit encumbrances from the current year's budget. And that was done for a reason.
Well, we can have Ben review that.
Yeah, I'm
He's
messaging him
sick.
now. He's watching. He's just,
Yeah, we can have Ben review that. But it doesn't change the fact that the review and approval still comes through the council. So even if it's on the
Which is
31st.
why it was always done in January. It was, we had to have encumbrances in, I think last year was by like the 30th or something. And when we turned them in, I can't speak for everybody in this room, but we turned claims in with full explanations of what we purchased and why and everything else. And to Keita's point, we do write encumber on there for a reason. And there were several screw ups last year where stuff didn't get encumbered and ended up coming out of this year's budget.
Yeah.
I don't want to put us in a place where we limit. I mean, we have a certain dollar figure every department has for what they have for a budget in a year. And if we have to purchase something on December 20th, and I use my example, if I have to purchase a huge component for a radio system that's $50,000, that puts me $50,000 in the hole in 2025 that I never anticipated. I think that's why it was designed that way. Now, I don't agree that you should go on an end of the year spending spree, which, you know, has probably happened in years past, but this will significantly limit what we can do.
I would probably suggest in section 2, instead of it saying shall not, could say may not be considered or encumbered to incorporate any emergency requests or any other post-December pieces, you know, assuming that the council manages that. The point of this, I think, this, and again, is to just try to get some process in place to put it in place so that we're not doing it all at the last minute. And we're not being handed at our council meeting in January an encumbrance list with zero information. So
I think you should include that. I think that if there are encumbrances, you should request information from department heads.
yeah,
But I also don't think you should shut the date down until what the state has said is legal.
yeah,
For us to
we can
submit
review
stuff.
that. We should review that.
Ben said he's looking now, so.
So should we table this till next month?
Well, it's
This
just the
is only
first reading.
Okay, so we can make the changes in between.
Thank you, Brett.
Gavin Green, Delaware County Coroner. I just want to reiterate what Fred said, that remembering last year when we submitted ours, we had to have an actual invoice, not even a quote, because it was factual, for lack of a better term. And so we might not have something that they can't bill ahead. We've asked several of our vendors to bill us ahead, not for service not rendered, but we know it's going to be coming. And they said, no, we don't bill it until the 27th of every month. Well, if we know that that bill is going to be coming in the 27th, we could submit that encumbrance with like you said, details saying, hey, we don't have this actual bill, but here's the email that says they're going to be billing us. As long as we give you enough details, it's not going to be, hey, encumber 50,000 for me. I'll spend it for you. As long as we give those details, we can do that. But we needed to actually turn in invoices or the quote to show that it had been ordered so that we would be invoiced. So I just want to, yeah.
We just make sure we just collectively need to make sure we all.
Oh, yeah, totally. Okay, thank you.
So, Emily Anderson, Court Administrator, is the goal to reduce the number of claims at the end of the year for the processing? Is that what this is the goal for? I just don't understand why the change all of a sudden is because there were so many encumbrances at the end of the year, or is it because here's my question. There are certain things that we have in our budgets that we know we're getting in December that there's no way it's going to meet that deadline, and those are the things that I turn in as encumbrances. There's very few for my department. I can't speak for everybody else. So is it because it's the end of the year, and I know the auditor has a lot of things to do end of year, like closing books and all that. So when they're getting all of these encumbrances that last day or last few days, is it a processing issue, or is it more of a council side that you guys want more information?
Proper accounting of.
Both.
Sure. I mean, we're trying to get the information to the auditor so they can start processing it sooner, and we need more information, we would like to have more information.
Because it will limit, like for me, I have a few that, like I have my law books, for example, where I know at the end of every year in December, I get an invoice, but it could be at the end of the month. But I have that in my budget for 24, so I'm gonna turn that in because then it eats into my 25 budget. But I don't see it, and but you multiply that by every department, I get that they're getting all these encumbrances requested. I just didn't know if that was a time crunch for the auditor to get that process before the end of the year, or if they had to, I didn't know where you're coming from on
I can't speak to
this.
that part, but I can speak to the number side of it. We all sat through this budget, and it was long and painful, and we're really trying to work hard to get a better idea of like what kind of spending we have coming in, what's gonna roll over. And, you know, Matt and I have been working a lot and talking a lot about, and you've heard Matt even talk about watching cash flows and everything else. Like, we're trying to get
So
a lot more data just so we can watch trends and make better decisions, because at the end of the day, the more we can save, and I'm not saying that you're just being frivolous or whatever, but the more we can save, that more that goes back into all of your pockets.
Right.
In salary.
So
we're-
instead of getting a line, you'll ask for, we'll go through encumbrances like we would anything else. You'll have all that, you'll want a copy of our claim, or you'll want us to go through the encumbrances like we would any of the transfers or whatever.
Yeah,
Pretty much is what you're
What
asking
was the
for.
total last year? Do you remember, Tanya, roughly?
5 something.
I had a sheet, I can't find it.
It was 537,704.36, which would be a lot of salary increases. I mean, that's why, I mean,
Right.
I know it sounds like a kind of a pain, but
So
trying to help you help us, right? Like,
Right.
and-
So so my question is this, if by law, we can't push that line back, and so we're still having to do those encumbrances for things like end of month bills, then the process would be you're wanting that information detailed out for the encumbrance lines, so it's no different than what we do on every budget meeting, which is giving you those lines and saying what we're spending on.
Yeah, because in
Okay.
I mean, the past, we've just blindly been like, yeah, sounds good.
Right.
We want some more
So it's more
eyesight
of
on
that
it.
process that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Okay.
This would push you to do as much as you can in December, prior to the finance meeting, which is last Thursday or second?
It's
Well,
the
no,
second.
December.
It's December 12th, I think.
Yeah, it's our.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
December
yeah.
It's pretty early, and that's why we're freaking out. That's why we're all like, wait, that's too early. We
So
can't
then
get
we
that.
just we need to capture, I guess, what happens after that.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because I think our meeting's on like the 17th. So yeah, finance is on the 12th.
It's pesky holidays.
Okay. I think we've got all kinds of notes here. For those who can't hear in the audience, there's concerns about credit card bills when they come in, so. Okay, noted. All right, so this is just first reading. Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
No.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
No.
Mr. Wyatt.
No.
Mr. Cantz.
What are we voting on?
The first reading,
First reading? Yes.
Ms. Piper.
yes. All right, we'll get Ben to look into that and do some work and,
And And we also need to, like this previous stuff that comes in, try to get in as many as we can before the finance meeting, but stuff that comes in after, we need to.
A plan for that.
Yeah, plan for that also, because they do have legitimate concerns.
Right, right. I've got all those notes on there, so hopefully Ben's writing this all down since he's watching remote. All right. Okay, so the next two are kind of the same type of thing. For any of you who are following along in our budget process, we learned that, actually, the auditor's office brought it to our attention that,
Which numbers are?
This is 26.
I'm just gonna give you an update of what they are, and then I'll need a motion, but essentially we found out that any kind of longevity, experience pay, whatever, cannot be tied to the salary in the budget. It must be the base salary in our budget. And so for our grandfathered longevity programs, this, what you hear sometimes people talk about, the 62.2, we actually had to pull that out of line items and create a new line item, which we could do in our budget because there was an ordinance in place, and in the handbook, we have guidelines for that grandfathered program. Then there was another longevity, which is one that's people refer to as like the December longevity, or and that one also has been discontinued, but folks are grandfathered in it. That one was already correct, where the salary was not included in the base, and it already had an ordinance in place and was outlined in the handbook. So the auditor, Ed, met with the Finance Committee a couple weeks ago to talk about all of this, and so we want to make sure we're in compliance with this. We were already doing some form of this experience pay with the sheriff and jail and 911, so we wanted to make sure that we got the ball rolling to get this process in place to continue those programs. So this is simply first reading for both of these. The first one is Public Safety Experience Pay Ordinance 2024-026. I have a motion to
So moved.
introduce from Dan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Matt. All right, now we can discuss. Again, this is only first reading. I know Fred was really anxious when he saw the document.
And
We are aware that there will be some revisions. So yeah, go ahead, Dan.
4 it says hire or contract, and we can't do contracts. Under the third line word, the number, first set of numbers. Number 4 says hire or contract, and we can't contract. That's the commissioner's job.
Okay.
So we can request a contract, but we can't.
Council have any other questions, or I know Fred is
Yeah, there-
willing to speak when we,
Well, just before we even get to him.
Yep.
I know Sheriff's not here, Nancy, but I'm not sure this is reflected properly either.
want to come to the microphone for us?
Yeah, because, and again, I didn't see this before I didn't really go over this table, but I did ask him about that, and my understanding from him was he wanted every 4 years payout.
Correct. He went from 1 to 4, but you didn't get your $1,000 until year 5. So at the start of year 5 is where ours,
All right, so essentially 1 through
$1,000.
4 is 0.
correct.
Okay.
And then year 5 through 9 is the 1,000.
Okay,
10 through 14 was 2.
okay,
15 through 19 was 3. And 20 plus was 5. Actually, it was 20 to 25, and then he maxed out at 6, I think. But again, I didn't bring the budget with me for what I gave you and all that.
yeah,
I can send you something in an email to verify that,
that's fine.
Please.
okay?
And then, Fred, I think you should just do the same, just to be clear.
Well, it's easy,
Okay.
so, first of all, just take out the word law enforcement on the second page. It's actually 911, not law enforcement.
Says law enforcement?
It says,
Oh, experience in law,
yeah.
yeah, I see.
so A should be 5 to 10 years. B should be 10 to 15.
So really, it should be like 5 to 9.
No, because they have to have 10 completed years of service. It doesn't start. It's
So
5
then
to-
it's 11.
11 to 15,
11 to 15.
okay.
can't have 10
Okay.
on both lines.
Yes, sorry, 11 to 15
Okay,
is the third line.
okay,
Or sorry, the second
Second
line.
line.
The second line, 11 to 15, sorry.
okay,
And then 16 to 20 is C,
all right,
okay? D should be 20 and over.
21 plus.
Yeah, you can do away with E because we've never done that.
Okay,
It maxes at 4,000.
okay,
That's the only change for me.
so 0 through 4 is 0, just like with the sheriff.
Yes.
May I?
Yes,
The first one you were talking about under the sheriff's plan,
yes,
you said 1 through 4 with the first pay being at the beginning of the 5th year. And 911 is stating that they have to actually complete the 5th year before they get payment. So that is two different, ideas there.
yeah, they're two different sections.
Yeah, and I mean, well, you bring up a good point, which was, I thought we were gonna try to make these consistent. So,
I thought it was kind of one and the same for the public safety.
Yeah, I'll have to
Version.
change my amount that you're gonna have to appropriate in January because this.
That's okay, I mean, if, whatever we decide, that'll,
we realized there would be something.
Yeah, but the $5,000 was never included in my plan. It
I mean,
was always 1 to 4.
If it's detailed in different paragraphs, they're different departments, and
Shouldn't matter.
what's it matter?
I was just pointing it out
No, I
to
understand.
notice the difference and make sure that it's, that the, wording is proper, I
Sure.
guess is what I'm trying to say.
I understand that part, I'm just saying, but now that we recognize that, if he's saying,
I'm perfectly happy to go with the
intentionally-
sheriff's plan because I'll pay my people more money, right? Because that goes up to like $6,000, right? But, I mean, if you wanna mirror us to the sheriff's, I'm perfectly okay with that.
but what's that gonna affect next year's budget?
It's gonna affect the appropriation
so-
in January, I can tell you that.
yeah, so Ryan, when we finished up the budget, we took into account what this experience
Mhm.
pay would be,
Right,
and including FICA and perf for both the prosecutor ordinance and this one.
for the January appropriation,
Yeah, and we would do that at our special meeting in January, so we already took that into account when we came with our final budget number, like that's already figured out.
I got all that,
And
but
so-
he's saying if we had
But
an
we
extra year.
went we rounded up to 250,000, but anyone on the sheriff's department doesn't get perf because they have the pension, so like there's wiggle
You think
room,
there's enough in there to cover it?
probably pretty close.
You guys did get my email that there was $1,000 difference already, right? You did get that.
Yeah.
It should have been 23,
Elizabeth
not
got that.
22.
I mean, there's a lot of line items in our budget, so it's not uncommon for us to find something and have to make corrections in January, so.
I just wanna make sure that
Yep.
the 23 got appropriated, not 22, so.
Yep.
So are we editing this to match the sheriff's?
Well, I mean, that's what we're discussing. I mean, it's, what's the pleasure of council, or, I mean, cause this is just first reading, so we're gonna have, Ben's gonna go back and,
Let's go through the sheriff's again, 0 to 4 years was $0, correct?
yes,
And we're doing this 5 to 10 was 1,000,
5 to 9,
or 5 to 9?
5
And the
through
difference
9.
is yeah, and then, and,
14. That down is 2. Then 15 to 19
I missed it. I don't know which one we're on.
is 3.
On D,
I kinda just wrote mine off to the side, I didn't even put them with the letters.
15, and
I
that-
thought this is what we'd agreed to. No, the 911, I thought what we agreed to with the sheriff.
Say that again?
They had
was
different
confusion with the
plans.
year 4. I also thought that, because I don't remember hearing the year 4 thing. I thought that the timing matched, if you've been here 5 years, in year 6, you get the $1,000.
No, ours was
But-
1 to 4, and then at year
Yeah, I
5, you got your
didn't-
1,000.
I missed that, or, I don't know, so.
And then it was 20 to 24, and then 25 plus were your ending ones.
Those
But
goes
you
up
had
to
to have-
6, right?
Yes.
I thought you had to have 5 years in, and then you got the bonus,
Well,
through 5.
there was
That's the
never
way we
really
are.
anything in that's theirs.
That's the way we are.
Ours was not that way.
I thought we agreed
Ours was not that way. Ours at the start of your 5th year is when you got your $1,000. And that was spread out over your pay for the entire year.
They have different plans. They always had different plans. Now we're deciding if we want to have one unified plan.
Like I said, it's win-win for me, because if we go with the sheriff's plan, that my people get more money, it's perfect.
And ours get less.
And keep in mind, this is what we've been doing, so when we took, and Fred was very passionate about this during budget, so we took all of his people down to their base, because some of these folks already had this money built into their salary. So we stripped it out. We stripped it out of the sheriff's department too.
Yeah, they did too.
And so this is putting that back in.
Like, my most experienced person will get $53,000 in 25. Right now, they're in the budget for 49,000, because it's literally 49,000 straight down through. And so that was the discussion with the 20, I think I needed 22, but I actually need 23,000 to make that work. I was not aware of the sheriff's plan, and this is the plan that this will be the 3rd year we've done it.
They've been like gentleman agreements, essentially. If we had the money, we would do it. So there was never anything in writing, but now we're finding out, to be compliant with SBOA, the budget itself has to be the base salary, which then means we need a process to do this. And there's a line in here too that says, on bullet point C, the foregoing shall be subject to the annual budget appropriation of the Delaware County Council. So we're not tying up any future councils if they can't afford it.
And they can amend it,
They can,
just like any
they
other
can
council.
rescind and
can.
replace. I mean, it's
Right.
not a forever document, right? It's a
It's
living,
a written gentleman's agreement.
yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's
Exactly.
doing what we did, like I explained at the council meeting. I can't tell somebody that's been there 20+ years that now they're being dropped to 49,000 when they're making more than, they should be making more than somebody that's walking in the door, right? So they should be at 53, because all of the employees should have got the same dollar raise, right?
Right.
Like, that was the issue.
Well,
That last point,
Pay matrix.
rather than just making it subject to annual appropriation, I think future councils ought to have to approve it each year. I worry about this being deemed a vested benefit that we can't back out of. And there have been situations that I'm acquainted with where that has happened. I would, off the top of my head, but I'd rather see this require annual approval by the council.
Like, put an expiration date in it?
Yeah.
At least that brings it up in front of each
Yeah,
council,
every
so-
year.
So it doesn't just get lost
Yeah.
in ordinances and they don't forget about it.
yeah,
Handle that during the budget process, Bill? Because every year moving forward, when this is created this year, there'll be that line for for experience longevity. And we would put that in for moving forward, we'll put that in our budget every year anyway.
That
Right,
would
I
be the
get-
place to do it.
I get that, but I'm concerned about, I'm not concerned about the budget side of it. I'm concerned about that we're establishing a plan that a court could say, well, you made a promise that this plan was going to be in place for these employees, and they're entitled to it. You go find the money, you've got to pay this.
I would agree with you.
That's my concern. I would like our council to maybe look into that.
I think, yeah, bullet C should include, or it could be more clear. That it's not just subject to the appropriation, it's actually needs to be approved.
I like it just because it brings it up and puts it in front of your face and doesn't get lost amongst
Right.
the dozens of ordinances. I mean, we've got ordinances that we've forgotten about because they've not come up
To
for any
Fred's
reason.
point, there will be a line item that we're gonna have to approve them.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
visible for everybody to see each
Yeah.
year if I have to adjust somebody's.
yeah.
Like this year, our appropriation in January will be 23,000. Next year, it might be 25, right? It depends how people fall in experience, or it could drop if we lose experience. Like, I mean, it would be a fluctuating number every year anyway, based on who we have for staff.
And Ed brought up a point to, at least to the three of us, relative to this costs money, and it's gonna continue to potentially in a perfect world, it's gonna cost more money, because if we're keeping people at a better rate than we have, these specific ones are built specifically for the highest turnover areas of our employees currently.
It's actually gonna cost you less money, because if you have more experienced and you can keep those people, it actually is gonna cost you less money than
Turnover,
it
yes,
is.
turnover costs
Training.
more money, that is correct. So, but just from a budget line perspective, that number will increase, so, or could increase, so we have to give ourselves the opportunity to adjust if there's.
That's
just
the
not
one line that you
funds.
want to increase every year, because it means you're retaining people, and you're retaining quality people with experience.
Yeah.
To Matt's point, not only is it addressing the areas that have the highest turnover, this has a direct impact on the citizens, because not that every employee is important, right? But an employee with 10 or 15 years in, let's say the auditor or recorder's office, doesn't necessarily impact your life as a citizen the way an employee with 10 years as a 911 operator, or an employee with 10 years as a deputy sheriff, or employee that's 10 years as a correctional officer. That can have an immediate impact in your life and how that particular situation goes down based off of their experience. So that's why it's important to capture these particular departments and address this for those specific departments and not be across the board. I know every county employee wants that experience incentive put in there, but this is something that directly correlates to public safety and having a positive impact on the citizens.
All right, so we know we have corrections to be made, where are we at?
Any question?
Yeah, okay, we will roll call for first reading of, or introduction of ordinance 2024-026.
Ms. Flanagan. Yes. Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Vogel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So next up is an introduction of the reading for Deputy Prosecutor Experience Pay Ordinance 2024-027.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
For introduction.
Yes.
All right, motion by Ryan, second by Dan for introduction. This is essentially the same makeup. So we've got the word contract on here in line 4 that Dan brought up. And this actually has a screenshot, or no, I shouldn't say screenshot, a table of the scale that we were using in our budget process for the prosecutor's office. That wasn't a updated, modified version of what we received from WIS and the salary study.
It'd been my suggestion to include the master commissioner, excuse me, in this plan as well.
Okay,
At what rate? Just the
The
years
same.
of service?
same table.
Yeah, same base and same years of service.
Is Emily still here?
Probably just dipped out.
I don't, hold on that thought for a second here.
While Matt's trying to find his question, I do have a question regarding the table here. I thought, based off what I've heard and seen in the budget hearings and here yet today, the base salaries all had to be the same.
Mhm.
Well, right here in that table, it's got the base salaries different.
Good point.
Well, yeah, we need to change that. It shouldn't say,
It's actually, yeah, the table's incorrect. I actually, I did fix that.
They've added the increase to the
yeah, it
base
shouldn't
pay.
add the increase. The base is
They
the
all
base.
should read 95, and the second column, experience pay increase, is where the 5, 10, 15 is captured. He didn't change the other ones back to 95, which they all should be 95.
Should we do, to Bill's point, a similar, renewal mechanism for this, just like we did the other one?
I would say so,
I would think it's the same concept, right?
I agree.
yeah.
I guess Do you wanna explain, I was gonna ask Emily to do it, about the master commissioner, their role? You know, I know they made an argument for this before, but can you help us build that? Like, why you think it should be included?
They had requested a significant pay increase for the master commissioner. The master commissioner is a judicial officer. He hears, cases on assignment from the various courts. But his pay rate is significantly less than the magistrate, who's paid by the state, or any of the judges who are also paid by the state. So he's doing, essentially the same type of work for, in terms of the judges, about half pay. So they had requested, increase, I think, to 107,000. Our budget had him at, I think, at 93, he's currently at 84.
95. 95,
We took
we
him-
have them at 95.
We took him to 95.
We had him at 93 before our last budget session, where we had put him based on the salary study. My suggestion was to put him at a base of 95, but to recognize that as with these other positions, that experience is important. And our current master commissioner, I think, has 8 years of experience. So I thought he might fall, he's kind of an orphan, there are no other positions exactly like him anywhere. I thought he might best fall in the same category as the deputy prosecutor, which is why I suggested putting him into this plan.
Councilmember Hughes, is that 8 years experience as a master commissioner or law experience
As a master commissioner,
in that role?
in that role.
Okay. I mean, I agree.
I don't have a problem with what
Let's
Mr.
check
Hughes
to it.
said.
You're good with that, Nat, too? Eugene, are you all good with
I don't
including
object.
the master commissioner?
And if voting on this and approving it at the second reading, that would increase his salary starting January 1 with the experience matrix added to it.
Correct.
Yeah, and I also think that this matrix takes into account, in essence, a percentage increase based on the, specialty points system score, in essence, that the prosecutor has created to talk about their workload, what cases they're trying. There's a different metric for that.
Yeah, that really wouldn't apply to the master commissioner. I think he ought to be
A separate,
accepted out of
okay.
that.
All right.
You-
Have his own table.
So no SPSS associated with that.
And that rubric was developed with the help of WIS. They were able to come up with that scoring system that he's using for level 1, level 2, level 3. That was something that they helped create, so.
And I'd make the argument, the same thing we said previously about the sheriff's deputies.
Mhm.
This is a position that directly impacts the safety of the members of the public. So it's a good investment in the safety of the community.
Before we receive this at a second reading, can the council get the specialty point system score, the updated version to us, please?
Yeah, we should. You have that document? Salary study,
You don't have to worry about it right now.
Okay.
Just before second reading,
yeah,
I'd like to review that,
a
please.
note.
So we will include in there that it's subject to annual appropriation and annual approval by the council.
Yeah. All right. Roll call on the, first reading of Deputy Prosecutor Experience Pay Ordinance 2024-027.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes?
Mr. Mokel,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt,
Yes.
Mr. Cantz,
Yes.
Mr. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
All right, so appointments and committee reports, with the rules that we adopted for council, our process now for board appointment, advertising states that the auditor's office will provide us with a list at our October meeting, whatever this is, October, and then, we'll get that advertised for people who are interested in serving on these boards. They can apply to the council. So we have a handful of board appointments that will be up for 2025. They include the Alcohol and Beverage Board, our county council attorney, Daleville Economic Board, which fun fact has never met. They back up. Alcohol Beverage Board is annual. County council attorney is annual. Daleville Economic Board is annual. Housing Authority Board, I know we received some documentation on that during our budget process, and, Bill, I don't know if you want to speak to that one when we get through this list. Property Tax Assessment Board, Redevelopment Commission is, annual. Tax Abatement Committee is annual. Yorktown Redevelopment is annual, and so is the EMA Advisory Board. So again, that list is Alcohol Beverage Board, County Council Attorney, Daleville Economic Board, Housing Authority Board, Property Tax Assessment Board, Redevelopment Commission, Tax Abatement Committee, Yorktown Redevelopment, and EMA Advisory Board.
Question,
Yes.
are any of these particular boards, requiring a politically balanced?
Housing Authority, I believe, is the only one. Well, I'll have to double check, but I'll make sure in the advertisement, Ryan, that's included, because I'll include the dates and times when they meet, because that's important. If the
Right.
meetings are at a time that you can't attend,
Gotta know when you can be there.
you shouldn't sign up, right? So I know that Housing Authority is for sure.
And what
The
date,
question, what was the other ones?
I'm sorry.
what date does the members of the public need to submit their interest by?
I believe we vote in our December meeting. So I don't know that our rules have a specific date. Let me go back and look.
Up until the beginning of the meeting, you think, or day before?
I think it's always been like the Friday before
Yeah.
our meeting, but I'll have to double check, but I'll add that to
And
the
what day is our December meeting?
17th.
So at least by then,
Yeah.
say by the 13th, 14th.
Well, what our rules say is that information regarding applicants or nominees shall be distributed to all council members not later than December 1.
There
Oh,
we go.
December 1? Okay.
Thought there was a date.
All right, thank you. December 1st.
Is
Madam President,
Yes,
Stan,
hold on.
okay.
Yeah, December 1st.
county council.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
The EMA Advisory Board,
yes.
that is the president of the council. That's not
Cool.
for position, that's not to be brought in.
I feel, but I could appoint a council
You could,
member.
you can appoint a council member, but it's the president of the council.
But
Cool.
you
It's
did
this last time.
Well, as soon as you said EMA Advisory Board, I was like, I don't think
So,
that's.
On
okay,
purpose.
so
Yeah.
knock that one off the list, because I believe Matt will probably be voted to do that one again.
I do think that the Housing Authority is the only one that is for sure balanced.
Right,
There is a question on the property tax assessment one. I don't see that we've allocated it as that. It's I see 3 people on there. That's maybe a check on the IC code that we have to do for that one.
Yeah, but there's only one up reappointment, right?
From us, we only have 1 appointment. The other 2, it currently says commissioners, I don't know if that's accurate. So, yeah, in a nutshell, Sarah left too. Marissa and Sarah are getting together to review, I've restructured this appointment spreadsheet so that they can work on it throughout the course of time to try to get it current. And then we'll be able to utilize it more effectively than we have today, which this is more complete. This has all of the allegedly we'll have all the appointments on them. the names of everybody on these boards, not just the county council ones, and hopefully we'll have a master sheet that we'll actually be able to work from that,
Tells us all the information.
yeah. And
Council
maybe
and
we'll turn it
commission.
over to the planning commission or somebody to maintain for us.
We used to, I remember Jenny, when Jenny was in that role, had one that was fairly detailed. I don't know
Yeah,
if they
she
passed that
did, but
on
it
or
was
not.
like, it is never, hers was never completely accurate. The cities is never, like, every time I get one, it's never,
Cover the whole thing.
yeah. And even, I mean, even ours has been
It's
not
hit and miss.
clean. As many times
think
I've
there-
tried to clean it up, like,
There was also actually I believe the Schaefer Leadership Academy offered
Did.
to maintain it, to be honest, so.
I would like to get to a perfect world when we do get it balanced out, and I know you're great at the spreadsheets and all, and we do get everything filled in, that we could, have that uploaded to the website. So if a citizen wants to know who's on this
A
drainage board or whatever board it may
Yeah.
be, they have a place they can go to and see whoever they need
that's
to
like another
contact.
challenge too, is like, I know we appointed somebody to the, animal shelter board years ago, and they went to the meeting based on the information we had, and that wasn't the date, the time, the play, anything. We didn't even have the proper information, so like, people, like, that's part of it, that what Matt and I are gonna try to do is make sure we have all that information up to date and the correct contact information. One of the questions on the Housing Authority Board, one of the names that our sheet has people's names on it, but, one of the individuals is not on that board. And the other name is a resident who lives within the Housing Authority, so I'm not sure if the residents select that individual or what, but I'll need to look into that. So, okay, so last time, Alcohol Beverage Board, County Council Attorney, Daleville Economic Board, Housing Authority Board, Property Tax Assessment Board, Redevelopment Commission, Tax Abatement Committee, and Yorktown Redevelopment. That's our list.
Wasn't there something about the alcohol beverage board that was kinda, the time was kinda ganky on it?
It's an annual,
I thought that it had, because of the alcohol commission, beverage commission required him to be.
Appointed before we appointed,
Did we look into that?
Yeah.
Have Ben look into that?
yeah,
Cause he doesn't have anything else to do, cause he's all sick.
I know. He sounded terrible, so
I'm
keep
sure
him in
he's
your
got
thoughts.
plenty to do without being sick. Seems like there was something last year we had
Yeah,
kinda,
you're right, there was something kind of wonky with that, so, all right. Matt and I will make sure we get all the information on when they meet, times and such, and then get a post for the socials. I don't believe we have any old business.
Hey, I'm sorry, real fast before we move forward.
Yes.
I apologize, I just saw this on the abatement committee. Bill's the council appointment, right? So there's really only two.
No, I don't think we have to have do we have to have a council?
Not a council
It doesn't
representative?
have to be.
I don't believe so.
Okay, I could be, if I'm wrong, never mind.
We'll double check,
All
cause I think, I know I've got some of the IC codes in my list, and I think Matt has some of them in his, so we'll go back and take a look real quick.
I don't.
We'll have Ben take a look at our list as well, make sure we're not missing anything. All right, new business, I don't believe we
You know,
have.
Aren't Bill and Joe both on the tax abatement? Am I on the right board?
Yeah, they're on the tax
You and
abatement.
Joe, aren't you on a board together?
the tax abatement.
Bill Barr
Yes.
and Josh Perkins and I,
The three of them.
we are the tax abatement committee, which is established, it's our committee, it's not established under state law, and it's just 3 members appointed by the council for 1-year terms.
So we appoint 3 people to that board?
Mm-hmm.
3, that's the only board that we appoint more than one.
No, redevelopment commission, we point two.
Housing board?
Housing, this I think is only one. Because the Patricia Mitchell, I talked to a member of that board, they don't know who that is. And then I believe Sherry's up. And I believe that Patricia Rourke is the resident who lives in the Housing Authority property. So that's what I need to figure out, if we appoint someone who lives in the neighborhood, or if, I don't know how that comes to be. So we may only have one.
I checked the, bylaws I distributed.
Yes.
Came from Forrest Bowers.
Yes,
One of our appointees to that board. Might check with him,
yeah,
to make sure that we're in agreement with how they're, you know.
okay. Off the forest. Okay. Don't have any new business, elected officials and department heads. Oh, you're in a boot.
I had a car wreck and broke my ankle. Shelley Harvey, Public Defender's Office. I had alluded at our last budget meeting that I was going to be asking for more money. Just wanted, for attorney fees. Just wanted to let you know, that I am, talking with each attorney about the number of trials that they truly think are gonna go and the number of appeals they have that will need to be completed before the end of the year. So when I come into council next month, and I will email you all, the information that I have before I put in for my appropriation. But I just wanted to let you know that we're working on that, and when you get the figures, they should be fairly accurate to what we're gonna need to finish out the year.
All right, thank you. Any other department heads, elected officials? Oh, all right. On to public comment. I had one sign up and it's Mike Johnson. You are it. You're the only one on the list.
Thank you. My name is Mike Johnson. I live on 200 West, just north of State Road 28, a mile. And I want to thank the county council as we move forward on the solar project that I'm strictly opposed of. I also want to thank the group that we have, because we were solid and we're stay in contact with each other. We all have normal jobs and things that we do, but we find the time to work on this, to try. We don't want this to happen. So I want to thank the county council for voting today, no tax abatements. And there was some article in the paper yesterday I was reading, talking about the quality of life in Delaware County. And I got to thinking about the Cardinal Greenway. That's been a really good project in Delaware County that was established probably 25 years ago. I don't know. But you know, the great walking trails. There's projects that happen. I was looking at this picture on the wall. Roundabouts. Some people don't like them. I kind of like them. They're kind of fun. But they enhance the community. They look good. We got some paving done on Wheeling. Looks good. The streets look good. You know, we're making progress. You know, and I just like the handout about the public forum, a meeting coming up about the solar project. And I look at this picture and I'm thinking, good God, I just don't want to look out my front door and see something like this across the road. The farmer on the south side of me, Dave Hawk, was shelling corn yesterday, the golden corn. I was thinking about that and enjoying just sitting out on the patio drinking coffee. And then across the road, the beans had gotten combined last week, the hazelnut collar beans. And I just sat there and I think, gosh, I just don't want to see this landscape and this agriculture be taken over by something like this. So I just hope that we can continue to move forward and put this behind us. That's all I have to say today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question. Question, sir. Do you know who these people are? Who's this?
I don't know, sir. I just saw this was laying out there and I picked it up. I don't know where this came from. It was out on the table.
I'm just curious.
It's
Center
just,
for Energy Education?
yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny. It's got this picture of this big industrial solar farm and it says food will be provided.
Thank
So,
you. I was
thanks, Mike.
curious. Thank you.
Well, we could answer, I mean, I attended their elected officials, workshop, as did Jim and Dan.
Brand?
And Mr. Brand, and he probably could articulate this better than me, but, this is a nonprofit organization that I think was called by the Roriton folks the Roriton Project folks to kind of come and be an independent, non-advocate allegedly of the solar quasi, yeah, education ability. This is a national company, right? National nonprofit, based in Maryland or DC or something.
Carolinas.
Carolinas, yeah.
So this is not specific to Delaware County.
This one, well, it's not, that's true. It's not really specific about a particular project. This is supposed to be an education workshop for anybody who has questions about solar.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
And I would say that it was enlightening. Some stuff was educational and enlightening. And people that ought to attend it, whether you're pro or for or against solar, you ought to attend it, at least listen to what they have to say.
All right.
Anybody else?
Public
Stephen, are
comment,
you gonna-
anyone else? Okay. I'm gonna set the timer because Ben always does it.
Stephen Brand, Monroe Township, 200 West. About your job classification and compensation committee, I believe you guys said the recommendation from the consultant was to put 3 members of the council, the auditor, and the director of human resources. I would ask you to consider allowing one of the county commissioners to also be on the committee. Not an appointment by the commissioners. I believe it is critical for a commissioner to actually sit on that committee. In addition, I would ask you to consider allowing a member of the public that's appointed by the council to be on that committee. This person might be a human resources professional or potentially a recruitment expert that has knowledge in conducting these total compensation surveys. As somebody that's conducted these surveys in this area for the last 25 years, I can assure you that a total compensation survey properly executed and a program that's properly maintained will improve morale and promote job security. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else from the public? All right, comments from council? Have any?
I'd like to comment briefly on the budget. It's a very aggressive budget. I am pleased that we were able to make personnel really our central focus and do some things that needed to be done, and we had the resources to do it, but there are a dozen different things that can go wrong next year that are going to put our budget in jeopardy. So it's going to be tight. We're going to have to be vigilant, and I guess issue a warning to office holders and department heads that try to stay within your budget. There's not any extra out there. And then I want to say a particular thank you to Jessica and Matt for their hard work in making the spreadsheets and making the numbers right. And thanks to Tanya and Elizabeth and Keita and Ed and the rest of his staff for their many hours of work. It was a very, very labor-intensive process because we were adjusting all the line items, we were implementing or using the guidelines of the salary study, but it all came together, and I'm very appreciative of that. Thank you. Yeah, I just would reiterate what he said. Thank you to the auditor's office and then the yeoman's fork they put it, and to Jessica and Matt, because it was an effort. I bet we've got close to 60 hours in it, and I bet they got a lot more than that.
Maybe 20, 30 more
I speak
hours.
about this also.
Yeah.
So, it's been extremely frustrating this year, working with the councils in general. And those words are spoken from employees in our office. They've received a lot of requests. For example, yesterday afternoon around 2:30, we were dropped multiple ordinances, and the girls had to drop everything and go through them and found errors within the ordinances. But on top of that, they had to copy all of them, change the agenda. They had to work over last night. All because of the lack of planning. That's just one example of several during this whole budget process. It's always at the last minute dropping things. Hey, we need this done now. I think that needs to change.
Well, I can recall, this is the first time we've sent any ordinances on a Monday, but these were ordinances that we were informed during budget that we had to do. And we were doing our budget now, and we want to make sure that we were keeping our word, 'cause I know there was some nervousness by some of the departments when we had to take people back to their base. We wanted to make sure we smoothed that out, so we were doing this because it was at the direction of what process had to be done for us to do these experience pay. So I will apologize they didn't come in till late, but we discussed this during budget, and I had a list of things for Ben to work on.
I was told that this was not urgent. Isn't that right, Matt? In fact, at one point, you made the statement that you didn't know if you were gonna do it this year.
I never said that. How would I have said that? Because we have to have it in place prior to January 1.
I'm not saying, what I'm saying is you made the statement to me that there's no guarantees we're gonna do this year, and that there was no urgency to getting this done. This is during our meeting when I asked you and Jessica to come in and Bill came in.
Do they or do they not have to be done by January 1? In order for it to take place and to get paid on
That's
January
the point.
1.
The point is you said that there was no urgency, and then at the last minute, these get dropped in our laps.
I don't recall saying that, first of all. But secondly, whether I did or didn't at that particular time, the reality was the SBOA feedback that your office gave us was we needed to initiate this base pay as adopting the budget with the base pays, and then we need to put it into ordinances to initiate a new experience pay line, which needs to get done. This is first reading. This is October. We have till November. That gives your office, which you also indicated needs that time to do all this, all of December potentially to get that accomplished. That's why we pushed it.
I understand why, but that's not the point.
Well, I don't understand the point then.
What? That's
I mean, our last meeting was on Wednesday, and these were all my to-do list items. That we went through the list to make sure we had everything for Ben to work on. So I didn't anticipate it being a surprise that they were coming through. So again, I'll apologize for that if there was a misunderstanding on that, but we have to get a first reading in so we can get a second reading in and we can have a conversation about getting this all in place. Cause we're already in Q4 here. Like we're at the end of the year. Like, I mean, it's not like it has to be done tomorrow. We didn't, suspend the rules and push it through. But we needed to get the ball rolling, and if nothing else, just to make sure we kept people, just let people know we were keeping our word, that when we took their salaries down to their base, we weren't just doing it to save money. We actually have a plan in place.
Nesbitt,
Yes.
budget time is always a little tricky. It's always a long, laborious process, involves the council, auditor's office, department heads, lots of people. And there's always a lot of wrinkles that come up. This year in particular was more unusual than previous years because there was a push by the council, and I'm gonna give these guys the credit, because I wanted to wait and take this job study and this, salaries and kind of, it was a big project. I didn't think we could get it in this year's budget. Credit to the council, we did get it in this year's budget, but that did not come without hiccups. It did not come without some late nights. It did not come without some last minute requests. And if we're going to get the longevity, the experience pay, get all these county employees the large, significant pay increase that every one of you deserve, and it sometimes it's going to come with a few unexpected hiccups. And sometimes that means we have to stay late, sometimes that means we have to come in more meetings than what we originally planned. And that's just part of it. And we gotta remember that it's not about making it easier on us, it's about doing right by the employees and by the citizens. So that's the first thing I wanna say. Everybody did a really good job of working together on that and, getting it done. So kudos to everybody. Even though it was a little tricky, it got done. The other thing I just wanted to mention is, today's Tuesday, the election is 2 weeks from today. I encourage everyone to go vote. You can vote early. We have early voting going on downstairs, all the way up till the election, I believe, up till 4 o'clock. So I encourage everyone to go vote. Do not sit this one out. And the last thing I was gonna say, this was brought up to me. I was really hoping that our county clerk, Mr. Spangler, was here because I was gonna ask him to clarify. I had a couple people reach out to me, and this is based off of something that Rick Spangler had said at a previous meeting, and he made some comment regarding they were being very proactive. His office was being very proactive, ensuring election integrity in Delaware County, making sure that only the people who are meant to vote are voting. And we all see the news. We've heard about illegal immigration. Well, it doesn't just. It's not like Delaware County is excluded from that. We've got plenty of illegal immigrants right here in Delaware County, particularly from Venezuela. And I just wanted to reassure those people who were curious and worried that there may be people voting locally in our elections that shouldn't be, that our county clerk has assured us that he is being proactive and his team is being proactive. I think he even said they were going door to door at one point to ensure that only legal voters will be casting votes in Delaware County. So I just wanted to pass that on and ease anyone's mind who might be concerned about that we do have some people in the community who are working on it. So that's all I had.
All right, any other comments from council?
I have one, but Sherry's here.
Oh, hi.
Yes, I'm sorry. Commissioner Reagan had another meeting, but I'd like to slip in and thank everybody for working together. And I'd like to see a show of hands, because you bring up a good point, Ms. Councilman Webb. How many of you have ever volunteered election day at a precinct? Please raise your hand. Thank you for your service. Now, the other ones that didn't raise their hands, those might be the people that question our election system. When you come to work at a precinct, we do have to ask if you're one party or the other party, so we don't have one party controlling it. So that evening, when all the votes come back, they have two people opening them, sending them downstairs. One's a R and one's a D. So the whole system is very safe. So trust me. But I would like to add one thing to your comment. Yes, you can come to the county building and vote. Right now, it's 8:30 to 4 o'clock. There was something that went out with the wrong time, or it went out correct, but when the person read it, they put it wrong. So it's 8:30 to 4. This Saturday and next Saturday, they also will be here, 8:30 to 4. But come Monday, the day before, it closes at noon. You have to be in line inside the door to vote. Is that correct? I believe it is.
In line.
Just in line.
Inside the door.
You have to be inside the door, huh?
You don't have to be inside the door, you just have to be in line. Sometimes.
And the line might be down the hallway.
And sometimes
Sometimes it's outside.
Yes, and they do put somebody down there somehow. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. All right. Go ahead, Matt.
One other thing. Thanks, Sherry, for that. I think we're having record turnout from the clerk's office currently, so early voting, it appears. He said this is a couple days ago, he was averaging 500 plus a day, so obviously I encourage everybody to do that. And thank you to Rick and his staff for the work they're doing to make it very expedient to try to get in there even though it's crowded, so thank them for that. I want to thank personally Elizabeth, Tanya, Keita, Marissa, and the auditor's office. I think you guys have done a great job with us this year. I appreciate all the work that you've helped us with, because it's not been simple or easy, and definitely there's been last minute things and all that. So I just want to say thank you for all your help.
Thank you. Does not go unnoticed. it's a lot of time, and for those that don't have to be here, they don't realize how much time it is, and you've all been very, accessible and very thorough in explaining, because there are times where I know we asked the same question in like 3 different ways that was still the same question, and you had the patience to continue to just walk us through and make sure we understood what was going on, and that's appreciated, so thank you. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
President Piper,
Oh, what?
I'd like to make a couple of short comments.
Yeah.
In response to Commissioner Reagan, some of us are unable to commit the time to volunteer and work at polls and precincts just with being a farmer and harvesting that. I am not able to do that. So some of us are unable to. Going along with that, being a farmer, on Sunday night I had a call from a neighbor. I had cornfield on fire. Somebody had thrown a cigarette butt out their window on Highway 35. Luckily, they caught it before it got much bigger than a hula hoop. But I just want to make a public service plea. Please be aware and careful. We are in a drought situation. Field fires can happen in an instant. Please don't throw anything out that could cause a fire. And then one more follow-up is to the county highway. Also being a farmer, I was able to drive my combine down 2 county roads within the last 3 days, where I used to drag the top of my roof of the combine, my mirrors, but they've done an excellent job of clearing the brush, clearing trees, and I just wanted to give a special mention to the county highway department for that. Thank you very much. Thank you, President Piper.
All right, anyone else?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Eugene, roll call please.
Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, our next meeting is Tuesday, November 26th at 9 a.m. Have a great day, thank you.